this is producer Yuri of ARE Diplomats. I'm on my way to the Embassy of Paraguay in Seoul. Why am I visiting the Paraguayan embassy today? You will soon find out why. Then, let's go together. I have arrived at the embassy and set up all the cameras.
Hello.
Hello, Minister. Our special guest has arrived.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you again.
We met yesterday.
Yesterday and Javier.
Yeah.
Let me introduce Paraguay's Minister of Industry and Commerce. Minister, thank you very much for speaking with us despite your busy schedule. So I've heard this is your first time visiting Korea. So what is your impression of Korea?
My impression of Korea is such a beautiful country. Very well organized, clean, everything works. But the main part is the incredible hospitality of the people.
And one of the achievements that Korea and Paraguay made during your visit was that we signed a bilateral trade and investment promotion framework.
The Trade and Investment Promotion Framework, or TIPF, is an economic cooperation system that is very similar to a free trade agreement, or FTA. It does not directly exchange tariff benefits like an FTA, but it is an agreement on comprehensive cooperation in trade, investment, supply chains, and so on. It is not legally binding, but it is easy to conclude because the negotiation period is short. On August 23rd, Korea and Paraguay signed the TIPF. Paraguay is the second country in the Southern Common Market, or Mercosur, that Korea has signed a TIPF agreement with, following Brazil. The Korean government expects exports to Paraguay will increase in the future, and that Paraguay will become Korea's base for advancement into the Mercosur region for the manufacturing industry. In addition, the government emphasized the significance of the establishment of a cooperation channel in the fields of trade, industry, and energy between the two countries through the signing of the TIPF.
Can you tell me about the significance of it?
This agreement makes it possible for Korean companies to come into Paraguay and be assisted and learn the rules, which are very clear and open. And we have seen Korean companies that went to Paraguay and had absolutely stories of success. One of those is THN, one of the biggest AutoPart, the wiring companies in the world, from Korea, installed in Paraguay, exporting to the Brazilian market. So this history of THN needs to be repeated for new players that want to go to Paraguay and use the benefits of the country, especially in terms of the opportunities in an industrial scale.
However, the Korea-Mercosur FTA agreement negotiations are at a standstill for 3 years. When do you think we can resume the negotiations?
I think immediately. Last year, we have achieved 25 years of negotiation between Mercosur and the European Union. I'm giving that example because the Paraguayan president, His Excellency Santiago Peña Palacios, he said a very famous quote, which is, enough is enough. You cannot negotiate a treaty for 25 years. Now, this is a tremendous opportunity for Paraguay and Mercosur to start looking to other places. And one of these places that we especially need to concentrate is Korea. I think that we need to get into that negotiations as soon as possible. We have talked today, this morning, to the Minister of Trade of Korea. He also mentioned this, and we are very much aligned on the idea of start to talk, because this is a place, a very special part of the world where we can bring so much exchange of technology, of trade, and things that will make our countries prosper.
So if the Korea-Mercosur FTA is signed, what kind of effects can we expect from that?
All kinds of positive effects. I think that Korea has a lot to offer to Mercosur. again, technology, industrial goods, but also Mercosur, Paraguay, in the heart of Mercosur, has a lot to offer to Korea as well. We are champions of food industry. So Mercosur is basically the food part of the entire world, and I think that Korea can benefit from that kind of exchange.
As I listened to the minister, I became curious about the current state of trade between Korea and Paraguay. So, let's find out right now.
The trade volume between Korea and Paraguay has been fluctuating. It exceeded 100 million US dollars in 1994 and 95, then fell. In 2010, it exceeded $100 million again, and immediately surpassed 200 million the following year. After that, the trade volume between the two countries maintained the $200 million level until the COVID-19 crisis, which caused it to stagnate. But the trade volume surpassed the $200 million mark again in 2023. Korea exports a lot of industrial products to Paraguay. Among them are products related to automobiles, passenger vehicles, auto parts, and trucks. On the other hand, from Paraguay, Korea mostly imports feed, metal ingots and scrap, and processed meat products.
And I saw the list of places that you visited here, and I followed some of them. And a lot of places are related to the car and automobile industry, right? Was there any reason?
The reason being, Paraguay is a country that wants to join the automobile industry by starting through the pieces that make part of the car. Paraguay is already very strong in the cabling, the wiring system of the cars. We have 5 of the biggest companies in the world. One of them is from South Korea, working in Paraguay, giving jobs to around 10,000 people, most of them women, for exports into the Brazilian market.
I wanted to follow some of the minister's schedule, so I received his itinerary from the embassy in advance. Let me show you where the minister visited in relation to the automobile industry.
So I can't follow him to all of these places, so I will follow him to a few of his meetings.
Hello everyone! Actually, I'm on the highway right now. See? Where am I going? I'm going to Kunsan. Kunsan is located in the northwestern part of Jeollabuk-do province. I have arrived at our destination. This is KGM Commercial's Kunsan factory. KGM Commercial is a commercial and passenger vehicle manufacturing company established in 1998. It is also Korea's first electric bus manufacturer.
I found an interesting bus. The bus with a sign of welcoming Paraguayan delegation.
Soon, the Paraguayan Minister of Industry and his delegation began to get on the bus. I also got on the bus. This is an electric bus produced by KGM Commercial, and it exported 5 electric buses to Paraguay recently. Where we arrived by bus was KGM Commercial's electric bus factory.
So we are now inside the factory.
And we are going to have a look at how the electric buses are produced at the factory.
Este es el proceso de cómo lo pagan.
The minister looked around inside the factory carefully. As I mentioned earlier,
KGM Commercial recently exported 5 electric-seated buses to Paraguay as part of an ODA project ordered by the Korea Automotive Technology Institute. So, KGM Commercial's first EV export is going to Paraguay. Now, it is time to take a ride on an electric bus used as a city bus.
Un máximo de 46 personas pasajeros.
Ya está bien. 이 버스도 함양 공장에서 만들어.
Este justamente se fabricó en Jamia.
¿Cuál es el precio de venta?
요거는 그럼 판매 가격. 달러로.
The bus driver was replaced for a while in the middle of the trip.
그다음에
The minister got to test drive the bus himself. I was curious what his thoughts were about driving a bus.
So how was it?
Excellent.
Excellent.
Best bus I ever drive.
Really? Best bus. You're a good driver.
I am.
This was followed by a meeting between the Paraguayan delegation and KGM Commercial.
이번 방문은 파라과이, 한국 양국 간의 관계를 더 공고히 향후 파라과이의 친환경 자동차 산업에 저희 KGM 커머셜이 조금이나마 협력할 수 있는 길을 열어줄 것이라고 믿습니다.
En ese sentido lo invito a que vaya y conozca las bondades que tiene nuestro país para que con su experiencia y su capacidad y su juventud también pueda aspirar a abrir una fábrica en Paraguay de buses eléctricos que a nosotros nos faltan.
It was a meeting where very practical and honest conversations took place. And while visiting KGM Commercial at the meeting, you mentioned that you wanted to build electric bus plant in Paraguay. So do you consider Korea as a partner country in that
Absolutely.
area?
First of all, Paraguay is the number one exporter of energy in the world. We only consume 30% of the energy we have. We are trying to change that. We are not proud of exporting our energy. We want to consume it in the industries in Paraguay. And of course, the electrical buses is a thing that the government is implementing. We have plans to buy around 3,000 buses for the metropolitan area of Asunción, which is the capital. And I think that producing these electrical vehicles, buses first, can be very competitive for Paraguay, for the regional markets, Argentina, Brazil, all of these countries that surround Paraguay, that can benefit from these industrial policies of our country.
So what did KGM Commercial think about setting up a factory in Paraguay? I was able to talk to the CEO of KGM Commercial about this briefly.
이제 오늘 굉장히 실질적인 이야기들을 많이 나누신 것 같아요. 저도 옆에서 지켜봤는데, 근데 이제 뭐 공장을 설립한다거나 뭐 투자라던가 이런 이야기들을 굉장히 디테일하게 하셨는데, 파라과이에 뭐 현지 공장을 세우거나 하는 그런 계획이 있으신지 궁금합니다.
저희 국내 버스 산업은 뭐 몇 개 안 되는 회사지만 어느 정도 수요가 한정이 돼 있기 때문에 사업을 키우려면 해외 수출을 해야 되고 해외 수출을 할 때는 버스는 직접 수출보다는 CKD 해서 현지에서 조립하는 방식을 따라야 됩니다. 근데 오늘 파라과이 쪽에서 오셔가지고 파라과이의 현재 시내버스가 경유로 돼 있고 그 많은 버스들을 대체 전기버스로 하기를 원하기 때문에 저희가 11월 달 이전에 파라과이 현지에 가서 오늘 오신 장관님과 같이 CKD 조립 공장에 대해서 심도 있게 검토를 할 예정입니다.
그럼 아마 뭐 그 조립 공장을 세우는데 여러 후보지가 있으실 텐데 파라과이가 갖는 장점이 있다면 어떤 것들이 있을까요?
파라과이는 전기를 만드는 전기 원가가 낮고
네.
현재 수력으로 많은 전기를 양산을 하고 있기 때문에 저희가 전기버스를 가게 되면 파라과이에서 운행하면서도 많은 경제적인 효과가 있을 걸로 예상이 돼서 검토를 하고 있습니다.
After talking with the CEO, I thought that we could expect greater cooperation between Korea and Paraguay in EVs and electric buses in the future. So what kind of incentives does Paraguay offer for foreign investors? I became curious about that.
So, in order to build a plant, we need to invest in Paraguay. So, could you highlight the attractive aspects of Paraguay's economy and investment environment?
Yeah, Paraguay is a very stable country. 3 weeks ago, Paraguay has reached a new standard of international qualification. The Moody's gave Paraguay a certificate of a grade of investments. So Paraguay is now a country that is very stable in terms of inflation, in terms of handling the internal budget of the country. And these policies are not of the last year or 2 years, but of the last 20 years. So Paraguay has been very prudent, very responsible in managing the accounts, which is atypical in that part of the continent. We have all seen what happens in countries that have high inflation and how that affects employment and of course the risk of the country. So macroeconomically, the country is very stable, and this is crucial for international investments to go into the country. And then we have other resources that are very important as well and should be looked at very fondly. One of those is, again, clean, renewable energy. Paraguay is famous for that. Also, the population of Paraguay, 75% of the population is below 45 years old. So we have a very young population, and this is key for manufacturing. So we have all of these ingredients. They make up a perfect environment for investment.
And I'm sure that Paraguay is very interested in fostering EV industries. And I've heard that 5 electric buses will be shipped to Paraguay from Korea. So could you tell us about the Paraguayan government's policies to help the EV industries to grow?
Paraguay is, again, the government is looking to buy buses for starting to substitute the buses that are now transporting Paraguayans throughout our cities. And the electrical buses are a part of the plan. So we have on one side that demand of the own Paraguayan government, but also we have all the ingredients put down by the government to make Paraguay a very productive place for these kind of industries to export to the region.
On October 25, 2022, the Paraguayan government announced the incentives and promotion of electric transport in Paraguay, which provides various incentives for the purchase of electric vehicles, such as tax exemptions or deductions and exemption from parking fees. Meanwhile, the Paraguayan government is also implementing a pilot project for commercial EVs through automobile industry-related ODA, in collaboration with the Korea Automotive Technology Institute, and a pilot project for eco-friendly roads called Ruta Verde to increase the accessibility of EV charging stations. It is also showing a strong will to expand the EV market by promoting a project to purchase 1,000 electric buses by 2027.
And I've heard there is a project called Paraguay Automotive Parts Task Center Creation and e-vehicle pilot distribution project. So what kind of effects can we expect to gain from this project?
We are trying to emulate the model that made tremendous success here in Korea, because we have seen that, of course, Korea has a lot of competitiveness, but also this competition between the companies is one thing. But we also see that in Korea you have collaboration of different companies, especially building places like KATEK, for instance. So KATEK is a private foundation of a number of Korean companies that concentrate efforts on the building of technology for the whole industry. So this kind of model of collaboration between different companies that make up the industry is what we're trying to take to Paraguay. We came here and we see that Korea and Paraguay in 1950 were on the same level. The gross domestic product of Korea was very similar to Paraguay. But something happened that made Korea one of the biggest economies in the world, around $1.7 trillion, and Paraguay stayed on a lower level. So what we're seeing is that we need to copy all of the things that Korea did correctly over the last 75 years that took the country from an underdeveloped state to a very modern kind of economy. And we have identified these steps, and we are trying to take this to Paraguay, hopefully with the assistance of the Korean government and also from the private sector of Korea.
There is one more area where Korea and Paraguay are cooperating in the automotive sector. It is the education. So I'm about to visit the site today. When I entered the venue, I saw several Paraguayans. They were taking pictures. Actually, the Manufacturing Production Specialist Training Course graduation ceremony for Paraguayan trainees is going to be held here today. After today's graduation ceremony, the trainees will leave Korea. And the Paraguayan Minister of Industry and Commerce and his delegation also visited the graduation ceremony. These are the molds that the trainees made while they were training in Korea. It was amazing that they acquired these skills in just 4 months. The Korean government is implementing official development assistance in the education sector to promote economic growth and social development in developing countries using education. And Paraguay is one of the countries that Korea is focusing on in the ODA education sector. In relation to this, the Korea Dye and Mold Industry Cooperative conducted the 2024 Paraguay ODA project training in Korea. From April to August, 10 Paraguayan trainees were provided with education opportunities in Korea. As I watched the ceremony, I thought that these trainees were the diplomats that could connect Korea and Paraguay most closely.
한국과 파라과이 정부가 공동으로 주최한 추진한 이번 교육은 제품 모델링에서부터 금형 설계, 제작, 제품 성형에 이르기까지 신산업 고도화를 위한 제조 과정 전반에 전문가를 양성하는 데 목적을 두었습니다.
I wondered what the trainees were thinking as they wrapped up their 4-month program in Korea. So, I decided to talk to a few of the trainees.
So, I was wondering why you applied to this program.
My dream, I have a dream of design or build adventure motorbike.
Design a motorcycle.
Yeah, adventure motorcycles.
Oh, okay. Adventure motorcycle.
Yeah.
Okay.
And my first impression when I saw the flyer of the government shares to the social media about this training was like, Paraguay have a lot of sources, renewable sources, and I think I want that for my country. I know that this training is for the growth of my country and the economy.
So, Marcus, how satisfied were you with the training in Korea?
I think I'm very satisfied. 4 months feels short, but at the same time, we have all the tools we need to go back and start our own business, start like some kind of ecosystem where all the industries can begin to grow. I think the best thing about coming here to study is the fact that you can like take a look at Korean industries, Korean like enterprises, how they work, how they manage themselves. So I think I'm very satisfied with that. I think it gave me a lot of insight about how to start your own business, how to manage like these big companies like Kia and stuff.
The trainees who received training in Korea for 4 months. What goals will they have as they return to Paraguay?
Actually, I work with 3D design in Paraguay, so I will apply the knowledge here immediately in Paraguay, and I want to start by making one specific mode.
For me, it's more about starting ecosystem, about the industries. So if I can like apply my knowledge here, not about the engineering knowledge, more about the business knowledge that I learned from the enterprises, I would like to start like this kind of cooperation between all these enterprises, all these industries. Maybe there's something missing there, and I can put my knowledge into it to make it happen.
After this training, I think I'm more like do later a master about electromobility and sustainability. I really want to work in a big company of electromobility like Tesla or something like that someday, I hope. And about the basic here, I learned a lot about molds, and I want to work in that area.
In this week's episode, I was able to learn about the areas where there is high potential for cooperation between Korea and Paraguay. I was also able to learn that the visit of the Paraguayan Minister of Industry to Korea resulted in many achievements and substantive discussions on future discussions for cooperation.
Tishi, Ignon, Gose, Kiri, Ipka.
If we remember this saying, not only for Paraguayan students who received education in Korea, but also for future cooperation between the two countries. I believe that the two countries will become closer and achieve results in many areas in the future.
I will miss that about Korea, the pali pali.
Tteokbokki.
떡볶이. Oh.
EUNWOO.
아, 창우? But this is your name in Korean. So you can use this. So
Thank you so much.
Yes.
Beautiful.
So